Welcome Coptic teacher Ewelina Konyndyk to the podium. Ewelina is a Coptic teacher, photographer, and essential oils educator, and Reiki master. Originally from Poland, she came to the United States in 2005, and the Coptic Center feels like her second home, like it does for many of us, for sure. And her Coptic friends are like family. She is a co-facilitator of the Full Moon Gathering, which we do offer on the Friday closest to the full moon. We have a new moon and a full moon gathering, and she's a facilitator of that. And she has an essential oil support group, too, which she'll probably touch on with her presentation. Her biggest passion is combining practices of different religious backgrounds into an active spiritual experience. She is the owner of Via Essentia. Please welcome Ewelina Konyndyk as she shares her wisdom, her light and law, and the laws that change lives.
How do we do this?
All right. Put it on the lapel.
Okay.
Very good.
And then just hold on to it.
Yeah, bucket. There you go.
There.
Very nice.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, cool. How are you guys doing? Yeah. So when I found out what time I will be speaking to you today, I thought to myself, okay, I'm going to have to wake him up. Right? This is about the time of our after lunch coma. So, as Michael mentioned, I am, thank you, I am an essential oil educator, and so I use aromatherapy for pretty much everything in my life, also for energy. And for all of you who would like to wake up, I actually right now on myself have rosemary, lavender for calming, because my heart is beating like crazy. It's surprising you can't hear my heart. It's pumping. So today I have applied some rosemary right here, a little bit of lavender, calm me down. But I have right here Midden and Karina with some essential oil. So please raise your hand if you would like to. If you would like to wake up a little bit. The girls have spearmint. Okay, go ahead and pass it around. Yeah, whichever. They have spearmint, rosemary, and lemon to share with you today. So what you're going to do is they're going to put a couple drops of oil on your hands. You're going to rub your hands together. Then cup your hands over your nose. Close your eyes. Take a couple deep breaths through your nose, couple through your mouth, and then rub the rest of it on your neck. Okay? Alright, so that's the number one thing that we're doing. The second thing is we're going to make this interactive, meaning that I will be asking a lot of questions, and I need you to raise your hand. Okay? Raise your hand when it just seems like yes. It makes sense because I asked a question that rings a bell. So first of all, it will be interactive, and here's why. If you just sit there, like a child in a school environment, in a classroom, and don't really listen for questions, just sit there without really paying much attention, because you're in your after-lunch coma, what's going to happen is that tomorrow you will only remember about 5% of what I will be sharing. And you're giving me 20, maybe 25 minutes of your life, so it's quite a nice gift. Let's make sure that you remember. So first of all, that's why it's interactive. If you pay attention and listen for questions, the percentage will go up to 30%. If you take notes, it will go up to 50%. And so I encourage taking notes as well. Okay, let me think. Is there anything else that I want to mention right now? No, I think it's the time for me to start asking you questions. So how many of you feel inspired today? Raise your hand. Are you inspired? Oh yeah, this is my crowd. That's what I'm talking about. Awesome. Inspired. Yes. Who is going to meditate more? Show me hands. Yes. How about diet? Changing your diet. Anyone? Maybe less meat or less dairy or maybe less alcohol or sugar. Whatever you decide, I really hope you stick with it. What I have found on my spiritual path, and maybe let's ask first, how many of you feel that you are on a spiritual path? Yes? Yeah. Awesome. Good. So, I don't know about the rest of you, but for me what I have found is that every time that I listen to some interesting speakers and I hear about the diet, meditation, and exercise, I get very excited for about a week. And then it steps back, right? I step back. It seems like that fire of excitement goes away. So, I'm going to talk to you today about the universal laws that turns out don't really work in my favor. So when I understood them, I understood my psyche a little bit better, and well, it made a difference in my life. That's why I'm sharing them with you. Now, the universal laws, this is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about universal laws. Sometimes they are called spiritual, sometimes they're called natural. How many of you have heard of the law of attraction? All of the hands should be up. Come on. Right? You've heard of the law of attraction. What about the law of evolution? In a spiritual sense, yes or no? Yes. Master Hamid Bey talks a lot about the law of evolution in his works, which basically what he explains is that even if you feel, like Carol was explaining, even if you feel like you're going backwards, you're always going forward. We're climbing this spiral, up ladder, just like the vine going towards the sun. And even if it feels like you're going backwards, you're actually always going forward. Okay? It's just because it's a spiral and there's a lot of curves and you can see what's next. That's what gives you that impression. But they are called natural. Okay, well, first of all, this is what I love about them, is that they are completely beyond the concepts of morality. Because think about it, morality, it can get murky sometimes, depending when you live, where you live. Shouldn't, but it does. So it doesn't matter with the laws of universe where you live, when you live. If you lived in the very beginning of the 20th century, or maybe you lived in the times of Jesus, it doesn't matter. We are all under the same laws. All the same. Okay? And now, talking about the concepts of morality, well, let's say you climb a mountain and you jump off a cliff. That doesn't make you good or bad. It makes you ignorant of the law of gravitation, right? That's exactly how the laws of universe work. Let's see what's next here. Nature didn't create them, but she reveals them to us all the time. All the time. So, guided meditation exercise. Let's talk a little bit about an example of exercise. Let's say that you go for a run in a Riverside Park, northeast part of Grand Rapids. Familiar with the Riverside Park here? Yes? Have you been there? Good. So let's say that you go to Riverside Park for a run and you're running. And it's in the afternoon, 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon, beautiful sunny day. And as you're running, you notice it's pretty windy, so you notice the willow trees. They're dancing in the wind, moving very, very nicely in the wind. As you're running past them, you notice a dead branch that just fell off. You pick it up, and what do you see? Well, it's dead, it's dry, there's no life in it, right? What does that teach you? Law of flexibility. We need to be flexible in our life, right? So that's what I'm talking about when I'm saying that the nature reveals them to us all the time. And they also apply to our human psyche, and that's what I will be talking about today specifically, because with our human psyche there are certain dynamics that will work against us, even though we have decided to meditate an hour daily, or change the diet or exercise daily, right? Because, I mean, we know it. Is it that difficult? It turns out it is. It is. It's not that easy. Okay. And another important point here is that Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Lao Tzu, and other illuminated teachers taught spiritual laws and principles through the use of parables and metaphors. If you have never heard of them, don't worry, really. It's not like you have to know them really, really well. The truth is that you have them all engraved in your heart. And when you need to find out, they're there for you. Okay? They are revealed in your life as you go. All right. Yep, okay, just said that. All right, very good. So the first one is the law of discipline. Anyone heard of this one before? Yes? 2 hands up? Awesome. Okay, the law of discipline. I struggled so much with this one because for me, I don't know about you, for me, discipline and freedom were 2 opposite things. Anyone else on the same page? Yes? Okay. And trust me, it took me years and years and years of struggle. And I was going back and forth thinking of my childhood and my stubborn father and all of this and that. And no! It had nothing to do with him because, here's the thing. When we think of freedom, we think of spontaneous behavior. We think of that extra piece of pizza at 9 p.m. if you want to, right? Or maybe going out for a couple of drinks on Friday night when you promised yourself it's my night to meditate. Whatever it would be. But discipline would be limiting that freedom. That's why they're opposites. Oh, here we go. Look at this. There is a paradox within this law. Freedom is our transcendent birthright, but we must earn it in this world. Confusing, I'll explain. So, when we think of freedom, and we think of the fact that you can hop in your car and drive for a day to Lake Michigan, sit on a beach, right? We think of external freedoms. We think of your physical freedom. But we don't think of mental freedom. Are we free, really? Are we free? Or do you have that constant chatter in your head? Anybody here? Constant chatter? Yes, constant chatter. So that's what we need to listen to, is the chatter. This is why Jesus didn't transcend his body by eating that extra piece of pizza. That's not how it goes about. Not drinking till 3 a.m. with his body. That's not how it goes about. That's why you need to have discipline. So you can transmute and shift that mental plane. Okay, next one over. The law of process. Another big one for me. If you have a great ambition, take as big a step as possible in the direction of fulfilling it. The step may be a tiny one, but trust that it may be the largest one possible for now. So again, it's all about breaking the journey into small sections. Well, I'm the kind of a girl that if I want to lose weight, guess what I do? I go on a diet for a day or 2. And I'm expecting the 20 pounds. that's the way I am. I don't know about the rest of you. Maybe you have process. No, for me it would be a very short process and then a lot of frustration right after. So yes, please break your journey into shorter sections. If you are not someone that meditates daily, and by the way, talking about meditation, I am just so happy that someone very special came in this room before I started speaking, and that is Barb Best. She is my meditation teacher. She's absolutely incredible. If you have not been to her meditation at 7 p.m. on Monday night, go experience it. She is amazing. But with Barb, we meditate for an hour. If you are not able to go, but you want to develop meditation practice, start with 10 minutes, then go into 15, then go into 20. Slowly, you will get discouraged. Plus, I think it's easier to find the 10 minutes within your day versus finding a whole hour, right? So break your journey into shorter sections. Appreciate each step as if it were an end in itself. Why would we do this? Well, first of all, we don't know when the end will be. We don't know, do we? Most of us don't. And another thing is that if you break it down in shorter steps and figure out the steps you're going to celebrate, your success at, you end up having a lot of different successes along the path. And we know it's not about the journey, it's not about the destination, it's always about the journey. So make that journey really pleasant. Okay, and now the law of patterns. Any habit or pattern, whether we call it good or bad, despite our best intentions, tends to reassert itself over time, unless we break it by doing something completely different. Anyone here has a pattern they would like to break? Show me your hand. It doesn't have to be something that you tell me others, but just a pattern, right? So if you maybe tend to spend an hour on Facebook daily. I hate to say it, but if I tell you, then it makes me more motivated to actually change it. I run some of my business on Facebook, so I think I have a good excuse. But I really don't. I really don't have a good excuse. So, what I started doing, how I broke this pattern of being on Facebook in the evening when I really have no business being there, is I picked up a book that's my most favorite book in the world. And that is, I don't know if you've heard of this, it's not really a spiritual book per se, but it's 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Anyone? Yeah? Okay. You know why I love it, right? It's an amazing, amazing book. Well, I'm reading it in Polish, because if you don't use a muscle, it kind of weakens, and so I need to get better at Polish language, it turns out. And so that's what I'm doing. 1 hour every day I'm reading the book instead of being on Facebook. But that's exactly what you need to do. You have to do something completely different to break the pattern. Okay? And patterns do run our lives. The patterns that we really find destructive and the ones that lower our frequency. So it's basically the energy that's out of alignment, unresolved, or incomplete. You have to recognize it. That's the easy part. Address it. Kinda, and then heal it. That's where it gets a little murky. If you do not, the experience of the issues and patterns will intensify until you can no longer ignore them. This happens because if the pattern is really destructive, it is of a lower and lower and lower and lower frequency, and it becomes harder and harder for your spirit to exist within it. These are the challenges and lessons that come to you and are the ones for you to heal. So this is how you go about it. First of all, you figure out what your pattern is. Then you figure out how it shows in your life, how it shows in your relationships. What does it affect? My thinking and the decisions I make, my emotions and the way I feel. Does it affect the way I treat myself, the way I treat others, the way I see and judge myself, the way I see and judge others? The ability to create the life I desire and the ability to create the relationship I desire. So if you look at your pattern, and if you were to choose one out of all these possibilities, you would know that that pattern is running your life. Even just one. And so what you're going to do is, well, if you look closely at your pattern and you look at the consequences of being within it, what happens is that you get a fuel for a change. Because all of a sudden you shine an awareness where the problem is. Make sense? Yes? Yes?
Yes.
Good. Okay. And then of course another thing is I feel like something, when my pattern is affecting me, it's always weak. It's a lower frequency something, so we don't feel really good about it. But that's again, this is a very, very, very good process to go through if you're struggling with something and it's just very, very, very difficult to get out of it. Okay? We all have different patterns. We all do. Okay, so how much time do I have any time?
5 minutes.
5 minutes? Okay. I know that we're working with a little bit of a different time frame. So, at the end of the day, no matter if you know the laws or if you don't know them, it always starts with a decision, yes or no. Yes. You make a decision to meditate for 20 minutes in the morning and you do it. Right? Here's the problem. And the problem is this here. Our mind. Because it turns out that if you let this work too long, think too long, it will talk you out of doing it. Okay? So let's say that you are sitting in a meeting with your coworkers and you have this brilliant idea. And you really should say it. But pretty quickly, this turns on, and what happens next? You start doubting yourself. How do you break out of this pattern? Easy. Again, awareness and a decision to break out of it. So, what do you do? When you have that great idea and you know that the next thing will be coming over is the doubt, you do this. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you act. You act right on the decision. Who is going to meditate every day? Where are you? How about exercising daily? It always starts with a decision. You have to stick to the decision, but remember, if you're being talked out of it, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you go. Okay? Now going back to the laws. The most important one here, in what I was talking, is the law of action. You have to take action. And in the spiritual circles, we just tend to talk a lot. I'm guilty of it, are you kidding? I do it all the time. But yes, let's take action, okay? Because guess what? You're supposed to show the way. I'm supposed to show the way. Who's going to show the way in West Michigan if not the Coptics? And as far as the laws goes, you don't have to study them, you don't have to remember them. I choose to study them because they fascinate me. But you don't have to. Just listen to your heart. They're all there.